Welcome to E360 TV, the live streaming and on-demand destination for influential voices and enlightened audiences. We offer trending, grassroots, and purpose-driven content across a diverse range of interests. E360 TV is more than just watching programs. We offer the ability to interact with live shows connecting audiences to real, authentic influencers and storytellers while streaming to millions of devices. Real experiences. Raw conversations. One destination for it all. E360 TV.
Hello, hello, hello. I have a question for you. Have you ever felt completely lost? You know, seeking purposeful direction that could and should propel your mission within your divine journey to that next level, but still it hasn't happened. Well, my name is Lauren Michaels Harris, and I'm the founder of P3, the Journey Series. People come to me because they're wounded. Many are scared, and even there are those who are bruised simply because they feel that they are increasingly, for whatever reason, losing their ability to dream. Now, this P3 program is not for a person who's just looking to start a business, no, but rather for those of you out there who have been on your journey and you've been navigating within your divine purpose, but you still desire to elevate to that level that you have not reached yet. If this is appealing, if this describes you, then I want to have a chat with you. I want to hear your story. So use the link below to get registered for your free seat at P3, the Journey Series. And let's get started, one story at a time. I'll see you inside. Click the link. Good morning. I'm feeling some kind of way today. I am. You know why? Because I was in the gym today in the health club for the first time since January. Because I'm doing this thing, some of you know, with Jane. I wish oh boy, anything catches my eye now. Look at my breakfast. Avocado, half of a nectarine, because half of it was just too ripe for me. I got a texture thing. You know what I mean? If it's like in that hot house, you know that hot house thing? Yeah, that. I don't like that. And then I have my rye cracker. Ooh. And 2 pieces of cucumber. But I am down 26.5 pounds since January 4th. And I have not used my inhaler one time, not once since then. And when I get up in the morning, it doesn't feel like I'm walking across a big bed of twigs. You know how those bones crack, 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 crack. Right. No CBD stuff on my little arthritis joints. I am so excited. I'm just trying to show myself a better way. At 62, going from 198 pounds, which is what I did 10 years ago. Why do I love showing this picture? I have no idea. Matter of fact, I'm not even going to hold it up. I've got it up here. So 198 pounds. This was January 4th. Oh, Lord. But I'm getting back to him. That was what I did from the same weight 10 years ago, from 198 to what you saw on the screen. Now, I'm not trying to look like him. I kind of am. But I want to feel like him. That was when I felt my best. And so I'm trying to figure out about my metabolism, how it's changed as I've aged. And the one number on my blood work, because your blood work is what dictates what foods you eat or don't eat and how much. And it took so many things out of my diet, no dairy, all these things. And I know that's why no coughing. I haven't needed the inhaler. It's just amazing. Listen to your body, y'all. I'm not telling you something I don't love now. I am in love with this process. I've never felt better. And 62 is starting to feel like, I don't know, 42. Now, up in the corner, look up top. I'm switching that out. See that green? That's today's spotlight sponsor, Genovia Renee, out of New York City, mother-daughter business. And I met them when I was there last year speaking for the Young Black Professionals event, which I love to go to every year. And they dropped some samples in my goodie bag, and I fell in love. And so there we are. Now, I just put a little on. Okay. No going to Lima, Peru for me to get work done. I like mine from a jar. Woo! I got to think about needles and knives. Stay away. Back off. So, let me see. Oh, one last thing before I forget, because they told me yesterday I neglected. Sorry. You know the syndication thing. I ain't trying to piss nobody off, but good Lord, man, where's your sense of humor? Everything. I'm not complaining. 10 years it took. And now Pluto and Tubi. Here we come. 177 million more homes. You know who's good all the time. And who's good all the time? Absolutely right. Lucy is in the dishwasher getting her roots done. So I've got cat dad today. And last thing, if you are in or around the Boston, Massachusetts area, I would love to hook up with you. I'll be there actually for 10 days, but there to speak. I will arrive on the 1st. I will speaking, doing the keynote Sunday, March 2nd at the PitCon Conference and Exposition Center for over 6,500 chemists. That's right. And I am presenting one of my favorite pieces, The Ripple Effect. So if you're in Boston, hit me up. Maybe we can catch some coffee. Okay. Boston, Massachusetts. And then I'll be staying for 7 more days in rehearsals with my good friend and partner, Sanjiv Chopra, Dr. Chopra, head of the liver department at the Harvard Medical School, and the little brother of Deepak Chopra. We're going on tour together, so we'll be in rehearsals for a full week, and I'll be staying at his house, and I'm so excited. So there we go. Now, how many of you have one of these, right? This one came to me from my Rotary at the veteran. You know, I'm a veteran, and these women made this, and it is just beautiful. I keep it here in the studio on my nap couch because I have a bunch of sets, but there's one of them that ain't a set, and that's a nap couch. And boy, you have not napped, you have not slept, you have not cuddled until you have done it underneath a quilt. Now, I remember my Granny Callie, used to keep like tins of like scraps and bags of scraps and this weird paper that she would like make patterns, and she'd keep people's clothing and tell stories and things like that. And when she passed away in 1972, unfortunately, so did the gift
of the story of quilting in our family. Went right with her. And the same thing happens with a lot of recipes and things. So today we have an expert. Oh my goodness, her work. Don't get all excited about having one unless you're willing to wait a couple years, because she's that popular. I think she said a 24-month waiting period or something like that. And you're going to see why. So anyway, don't forget to scan the code up in the corner. Get over to Janonia Renee. Check out all their products. And coming in the front door right now, back that truck up with all those quilts she donated. You never know. Guilt works. Sometimes people can be guilted. I want one of those quilts. So she's coming in through the side door, they tell me. Susan Leonard is here, and she is a quilter extraordinaire. But there's more to it than just that, and we're going to get to it right now. Put your hearts on the screen, you guys. It's our way of saying welcome. Here she comes, the quilt lady herself. I bet I'm not the first person to call her that. I hope I didn't piss her off. Susan, get in here. As soon as it came out of my mouth, I was like, well, because I have a niece who we affectionately refer to as the cat lady, because she got like 9 of them and she's single. We know where that's going, right? Can you say spinster? Anyway, we just tease her. Dr. Selma, I love you. niece. Listen, do people call you the quilt lady?
A few.
How does that make thee feel?
That's fine.
Okay. Okay, good. You're good with it. And you should be.
Yes.
Girl, Susan, I really went in there to pull it up to do the research a little deeper to freshen up my memory yesterday, and got stuck looking around. And there's one in there with a map on it that has a piece of map. I can't wait to hear about that one. So, I was all up in there, right? But here's what we're going to do. I've never had a quilter. I had a needlepoint lady once, but in all the years, I've never had a quilter, so you're my first. But what I like to do is dip out for about 60 seconds and just let you start the show with why you do what you do, how you got to the point of finding this passion, and it's clearly a passion. And then also you can throw in a little bit of what was on your heart when you woke up this morning. I always love that because it leads us where we need to go. So I'm going to dip out and let you have the stage, and then I'll come back in and rescue you if you start getting in deep water or something. But I got a feeling you can handle it. So you ready for this?
Yes.
All right, Susan Leonard, take it away. All you.
Thank you. And thanks so much for having me on the show. It's really an honor and a little scary. That's what I woke up with, a little bit of nerves. But we had a wonderful conversation, you and I, a little while ago, a few weeks ago, and I felt very welcomed and just raring to go and tell you a little bit about my story. I did not grow up with a granny like yours who could teach me. I came to quilting because when I got married in 1967, I married into a family, a large family, a lot of young couples with small children and not a lot of money. And the Christmas exchange was extraordinary. Everyone seemed to have a craft of some kind and made gifts for everyone else in the family, except me. So I thought, what in the world can I do? What can I replicate enough times for this large family? And I started making little squares of like pot holders. And first I started with quilting was just kind of getting popular, and books were being written, etc. So I got one of them, and I just started making some traditional patterns. And when I realized people were collecting them and not using them, I thought, well, why not use wool and silk and found objects and fabrics and just go to town rather than being concerned about them being washable. So that really started my adventure in making quilts sort of outside of the American tradition, without patterns, letting the sewing machine be my paintbrush, and really falling in love with already used fabrics. As you said, your grandmother used those as well. There's a certain magic and, even sacredness, if you will, in clothes that have been worn by maybe some of your favorite people who aren't around anymore. And I have really connected with old fabrics in that way. And ever since then, that's been my attraction to quilting. And customers have found me. I've made lots of commemorative pieces for families. I just have so many stories. It's hard to know where to begin.
I see. Oh, no, trust me. You knew where to begin at the beginning, and I love it. Now, I want to say this. I really was so appreciative when we had our conversation, which you referred to, because I spent probably 3 hours total throughout that day, coming and going here, about those. You just fond, I would say this, beyond fond memories, divine memories, which hadn't been brought to the surface in probably 40, 50 years, about watching Grandma Callie do these quilts and how she folded them almost like people would do a flag to give a veteran. And she bought these plastic things to keep them in, and all the different things. There was so much reverence around the entire process. I've never forgotten it. And that's why I felt so honored when I was given this one. And I use it. And we have one on, two of the 4 beds in this house have quilts at the foot. And one I got at a garage sale because the lady said, if you don't take it, I'm throwing it out. And I just looked at it and could tell it was a story. I don't know it, but it is somebody's story. So let's go there. I love your work, how different it is, because it's like you're constantly, it's like, where is Waldo kind of thing. I'm looking all over the place, and I get the feeling, Susan, that this artwork, because it really is like artwork, like you have one hanging back there, right? Do you find that people say every time they come to it, even when it's hanging in their own home, they see something they didn't see before?
Oh, sure. Yes.
I had a feeling. Talk about what is that phenomena? How do we think we're looking at the whole thing, but there's always a piece that eludes us until it's time?
Yeah. Well, isn't that the same with people?
Good point.
Every quilt that is handmade by an artist has stories, and it could be the stories of the fabric itself. It could be the stories that were told around the quilting frame by the ladies who were putting the final stitches in the quilt. I've heard of groups of women who sang songs while they did their quilting around the frame. And I feel as though those songs are embedded in the quilt. I have at times listened to many books on tape, and sometimes I can tell you the books I listened to when I was making a quilt. And most significant to me was when I heard the G's Bend quilters from Alabama. Such an honor. There was an exhibit of their works locally. And
what was that again?
G's Bend from Alabama. Their quilts have been displayed in major art museums all across the country. And they talked about when they were quilting around the frame, that they felt as though they were stitching in various values, like forgiveness and grace and peace. And I had never thought about that before. I was in the middle of making this quilt for my son, which you see behind me, a commemorative piece out of his clothes. And I thought, wow, I never thought about that.
Wait a minute.
So
Are you at your house or are you at your son's house?
I'm at my house, yes.
Well, I thought that was his quilt. How'd you end up with it?
Well,
Oh, little Indian. We can't say that anymore.
no,
Remember when we were kids and we called each other, you're an Indian giver. Now you can't say that.
yeah.
You can't even say
Well,
master.
I only made it out of his clothes after he died. So
Oh, so he had it in his possession. You told me a little about it.
yes, he never saw it. He never saw any piece of it.
Oh,
He never, he died at the age of 49,
oh my goodness.
and in
Oh,
2017. And from his estate, if you will,
yeah.
what I wanted were his clothes. So 4 big shipping boxes came to me of his clothes. He was an artist slash, house painter slash many things. And so many of his clothes were, covered with paint and
Yes.
other kinds of stuff that wouldn't come off. And I love those more than anything. Many pairs of jeans. And
Was that
so
the kind of kid he was too?
it was the kind of, well, he was more about people when he was growing up. The poor child born into a family of introverts, and he was the extrovert par excellence. So he would sneak out at night looking for people when his family were doing quiet, the rest of his family were doing quiet things. So unfortunately, that led him, as we lived in the city in Washington, D.C., led him to find people who were up at all hours doing things that were, doing drugs, really. So he started at a young age, really being addicted. And that's what did him in 2017.
I'm sorry to hear that. And I relate.
I know.
I think we talked about that. I was
Yes.
out there. It's a rough road to find your way back from. It really is. But you know what? I just fell in love when you said that you used the clothing, because so many people, I've had so many shows over the years about grieving and how to grieve properly and all these things. And one of the things that a lot of people report is the most difficult is when it's time to get rid of the clothing of someone that you're close to that has passed away. But this changes that. Have you done this for other people? And if so, from your own experience and what you've heard from them, how has this helped move the grieving process along? Because it is a process that doesn't go by any rules from what I hear and what I've experienced myself. So talk about that if you could, Susan.
Well, here's one story. I was contacted by someone I didn't know who'd heard about me. She was a family friend present in the hospital when a toddler died of an unknown cause. She was, the onesie that the toddler was wearing was cut with scissors, off of her body, and they could not revive her. So she was given this onesie by the family and took it home and waited a while before deciding what could be done with it. When she called me, she felt the family was ready for, in the grieving process, to think about how they wanted to remember this little girl to her siblings and the rest of her family. And they had created a wall in their home with photographs of her and etc. So out of this onesie, she wanted me to make her a small quilt. She gave me the dimensions. It would be 2-sided. One side would be a traditional pattern, and the other side would be the image, cartoon image from the front of the onesie. She didn't give me colors or designs or anything else. That was it. And I didn't know her. I didn't know the family. So what immediately came to my mind was a star, that this little girl somehow, there was a shining star that I felt when I never even saw her picture, heard her name. And so I went home and kind of researched various star patterns in traditional American quilts and decided on one and put that on one side of the quilt. And then the other side was this cartoon creature from the front of the onesie. And they could hang it either way, turn it over whenever they wanted to. And little did I know. So I finished it, gave it to the client, and she gave it to the family. And they told her, this is like a miracle. We have this wall, and we're going to put this right up on the wall with all the other things from their sister. I don't even remember what her name was, but we called her Star for short. It was not her name, but we called her Star. And at Christmas, we get a new star ornament, and we put it on our tree.
Okay.
And
All right.
we have so many of them. So this whole family was really, I think, assisted in their grief by having this, this piece of art on their wall. And
it was almost like a message too.
It was and I do feel that there is an exchange as I work on pieces from old clothing, that I give something, I put something into the piece, and there's something that comes back to me that helps me decide, how to go about making the piece. Any number of stories, a whole man's wardrobe of suits and ties I took apart. He was a businessman, wore a suit every day, and his wife wanted me to take apart this, like 15 suits. And that's quite a job in itself. And ties, his ties. And I made 4 quilts, one for each of his children out of these suits and ties. And they sent me a photograph of each of these grown children wrapped in these quilts. And so I do have a sense that the pieces are loved and cherished and helpful, in the grieving process.
Absolutely. It seems almost like you're the quilt whisperer. Almost like there's our new name. But it is almost like, because things are coming through you. On the way to the delivery address, i.e. the family, the loved ones. I think that's incredible. So do you look at this as more, as it has evolved over the years, Susan, the work, okay? Not that part that you get paid for, but that part when you're up by yourself. For some reason, I see one of your favorite times is when the world is sleeping and it's just you and the quilt. And I know that feeling, because I'm awakened often to do what I do, to do my part in healing and easing suffering. And so I know that. So I want to talk about, how has it affected your journey as you have grown into this work, where you've watched it become more than just what you get paid for, and have moved more into that area known as that lane of what you were made for? Because when you describe it, I can hear it, I can see it, and that's very powerful. Talk about that. What has it done for you that was unexpected? You would have never seen it coming, but nonetheless, here we are.
Well, gosh, there are lots of ways I could answer that question. But my part of my story is, when I was 17, our house burned down, and both my parents and my youngest brother died. And
both
my parents and my youngest brother. I have 3 brothers, younger than myself. I'm the oldest. And I know that's kind of a conversation stopper, but bear with me. I, I never had a chance to really, um, there was no legacy of garments from that episode. There was nothing left. It was, starting my life from scratch at 17, and going into the foster care system for a short time, and then
What?
going into college. And I was lucky because I was on track to be a college student and to have that experience, because I was a senior in high school. And my grandmother was not well, and my mother was an only child. My father's family we never really knew. They were in North Carolina. So it was kind of starting over. And I feel like the work that I have developed into doing has really helped me imagine remnants from that experience. I don't have anything tangible, but I can imagine. I've made a lovely quilt with my mother and other female families in the generation, and written letters, and done a lot of things to connect me with people that I never knew. But in making things for others and really opening up myself to their stories, it's helped me to realize the importance of my own. Because for a while, a lot of these things, they're kind of, it's not something you tell everyone. Here I'm telling your audience of how many, but for many years, I really never talked about it. And it's kind of a secret. And for me, making quilts out of other people's, to commemorate other people's stories is really helpful in allowing me to put importance on my own story. I don't know if I'm saying that as well. You are. Right, but sometimes people would encourage me, well, tell people, what happened to you as a kid. And I thought, well, I don't really want to, people don't want to hear these things. It's just too sad. It's just too much for a casual conversation. But I realized in working with families, listening to their stories, just how much visibility they're allowing in, the world, and seeing who they are. And so it helps me to think, okay, well, gosh, that's part of my story. I have many other parts. And, your story is really who you are.
Yeah.
And by keeping part of it secret, it's just not letting people in. So I guess I've learned that letting people in, by telling other people's stories, I'm letting them into my life too.
Into your own. That is so on point, Susan. I'm not kidding you. That's exactly what happened to me, but different. About the forgiveness piece. That's how, I had a dream at 26. It's hanging right over there. First time in the world, there was a business that did apologies for people. I didn't know how to say I was sorry, because the same thing, death, entered into foster care. I came out angry. I took all of my social cues from Victor Newman on Young and the Restless and Alexis Colby Carrington from Dynasty. I was like, get the hell out of my way or I'll move you myself. I was that kind of person. I did not care. And I learned how to forgive by doing hundreds of apologies for people that couldn't or wouldn't for whatever reason. And that is really something how God, the universe, whatever we ascribe to be greater than ourselves, knows how to bring in those things we need. No matter, as long as we're open to understanding why our journey is what it is. I don't believe that we had growing up 2 house fires, and I will never, that smell that's in stuff, I can smell it right now. Right now, you know what I'm talking about, that heaviness and how it just, it clings. So the healing part, I just think that's phenomenal. And thank you for feeling comfortable enough to be vulnerable and transparent and let us in. Because I'm going to tell you something. The moment trauma, I promote this. I'm a champion for it. When trauma comes surfboarding into our lives, and we're nowhere near the beach, know this. In most cases, that is the very moment that God has touched you and marked you for literal greatness in this world. I believe it because I'm looking at it on the wall behind you. I'm looking at it, and it makes me wonder. Then let me ask you this. When you were doing your son's quilt, what was it like? I see you smiling more than crying because you're looking at what were you thinking or where were you? How did you? And almost like a conversation, it feels to me. Like, was it like that for you?
Yes, it's made in little squares. There are 49 squares, one for each of his years, although they go all across the spectrum of his life. And when I made each one, it was, an opportunity for me to think about a story that, about his life, good stuff, bad stuff, all that sort of thing. I work a lot in silk, and I included my silk pieces with his denim jeans and his flannel shirts. And, so it was a combination. It ended up being a combination of fabrics from both of our lives. That, from the start, was a serendipitous thing. I didn't plan. It just happened that I had some pieces on my work table, and they were like calling out to each other to be to be united. And as a mother of an addict, as any other mother will know, it's really a touch and go relationship with a child who is suffering from addiction.
Yeah.
And there are good times, bad times, etc. And making this quilt was a way of, talk about forgiveness. Many of the squares have a little darning patch. It's like a cross this way, and it's about 1 inch on each side. And that was like, for me, a mending patch, forgiveness, but going both ways. Me forgiving, him for, the things that he did, and him forgiving me, and me forgiving myself. So a lot of forgiveness and a lot of love. Each square has 3 French knots for love. And, that was really important to me too. Be telling him, I loved you no matter what. I loved you no matter what. I loved you no matter what. And I'm forgiving myself for not being, the perfect mother.
The perfect mother. And you know what? I got to share this with you. And for those of you who have watched my Goldcast video about having had 22 moms, and they really did I don't know how they did it. The woman they used in that footage actually looked like my mom. It was just amazing, my birth mom. But I'm just going to say this to you because of what I am feeling. This cord, more than just an umbilical cord, but a sacred cord of connection that runs between you and your son. Because I'll never forget, in the heat of my addiction, which started after I found my birth mother, because I had supposedly, they thought I was dead, and, because I was stolen from the hospital. And when I asked her in her 80s, You always say you knew I'd show up. You just knew, but you didn't know how I was going to find you, but you just knew. How did you know that? And at 82 years old, she put her hand on her stomach like pregnant women will do. And she just looked at me and she said, and she goes, well, of course I knew. You're my son. You and I were once one person. And it was the first time I felt that. And when they showed it in the video, they showed a 9-month pregnant woman. Of course, it wasn't my real mom, but I had never imagined us as one person. And you see what I mean? That thing, it's supernatural. It's supernatural. And I just, man, thank you, Susan, for sharing this today. I know it's for more than just me, and I want to encourage you. Your story is so powerful. I really am looking. I'm going to keep an eye on you because I have a feeling you're going way beyond just quilting. I think you're going to go into the world of stitching stories together in a big, big way. I can feel it. And more importantly, I can see it. I want to go over, though, and pull up some of your work. You guys, you think you don't go by this. Not to take anything from this. This is these are all women who do these stars and stripes for us veterans. But wait till you see this art. Let me just shift the screen here a little bit and share the screen. It takes a second. All this stuff is going on with the switch over to syndication. There we go. I'm heading over, you guys, to Susan Leonard. This is SusanLeonardQuilts.com, and we're going to provide this a link to you so that you can, go over and experience this for yourself. Susan, look, oh my, how many awards have you won over the years? I can only imagine.
A few, yes.
She's modest. Yes. Tell us. How did you do this one with the photographs?
Well, that's my mother, and the upper left-hand corner is me as a child, about, I suppose, 15, 16 months or old or so. And the other women are from my mother's family, my grandmother, my great-grandmother, my great-great-grandmother. And this was a piece I made for Mother's Day one year. And I, there were times when I blamed my mother. Well, she died when I was 17. And I think every 17-year-old girl has, a push-pull relationship with their mother because they're trying to break away as they should be. And so my mother died at a bad time in my life. I have always sought out ways to say, I'm sorry, I'm sorry for blaming you, even though she wasn't alive. I never vocalized it to her. In my heart, I was sad and alone, and you look for someone to blame. So this was a piece I did to kind of help me work through that feelings.
Amazing that we were just talking about that connection, and out of all the quilts on that page, this is the one I was drawn to first. I don't think that's by coincidence, and I don't believe it's random at all. I just, man, girl, whew. Okay, changing the air in the tank. This is like a piece. It's a nesting effect. A piece on top of a piece on top of a piece on top of a piece.
Yeah.
What do you call this? Well, I see sacred threads, sacred circles, right? Is that what this is? Sacred threads?
It's called Sacred Circles.
Sacred Circles. Tell us about the story here.
Sacred Threads is the name of the show that it was in at that time.
Okay.
Sacred Circles There are a lot of circles in my work, as you'll see, and it's just a shape that draws me in. And this was a collection of silks, one on top of the other, and the top is a transparent organza silk, and then I do this needlework on top of them. It was a piece that was chosen for a show that used to be held in Herndon, Virginia, has now moved, and every year they have hundreds of quilts in the show.
Yeah.
It traveled for 2 years. They pick a small number of quilts to travel to various places around the U.S. And be exhibited, and this was one of the quilts they chose.
Wow. And
So,
understandably so. It's just so beautiful. Do you ever miss a quilt? You know, like when you end, if anybody out there ever binged on a show, and when the last finale, the last show is finished, it's the series is over, you feel like you missed the characters, like they were really your friends. Do you ever, is it hard to say goodbye sometimes to some of the work?
yes.
I would imagine so. Talk about that.
It is, yeah, especially the pieces I make for families.
Jeez.
I put a lot of time and energy into making things, and part of myself, as I said, and I'm rewarded with the reaction of the families. And also I'm usually excited to go on to the next project, which I start thinking about, as I'm winding up the one before. So
see, and something else, what I love about this is because it makes me try to figure it out. You see what I'm saying? I'm looking at the 3 layers that each circle is on top of 3 squares. And I can't help but wonder what the significance is, because I know there is significance in that. And the way I can just almost see you making sure that these points are exactly right, exactly spaced.
Yeah.
Talk about that. Are you ever in there going, okay, stop, OCD, stop, let me go, release me,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Talk about that. What is it? Because I can feel it.
It's funny, I'm a procrastinator sometimes, but for my work, I really insist that I do as good a job as I can, really, and that I know how. There are many things I don't know how to do, but I have perfected this, this pattern that you picked, which is layers of silk with a circle underneath the top layer. So this circle's underneath an organza layer. And the many layers that I put together, I wonder if they aren't, making a composition that tells about my life. And some of them are hidden or partially hidden. And it's my goal to make it look like one whole beautiful thing,
It's amazing.
Our lives are made up of good, bad, and the ugly, right? So in making something beautiful that stands on its own, I'm letting that represent who I, what I would like my life to look like to others.
Oh, beautiful. This particular pattern is so interesting to me because and I have ADHD, so let me just say this, you all, it's my universe. You're merely visiting, so it should not make sense in many cases. Be grateful. But when I look at this, I swear I can feel the circles moving, almost like they, it's just amazing. It has energy. These pieces literally hold energy for me. for me, can I ask you something? How do
Yeah.
you determine, like this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 35. There are 35.
Mm-hmm.
How do you decide how many squares? Is there a significance each time? Do you have a favorite number? How do you determine how many squares there will be?
Well, I make a bunch of squares, and when I get tired of making them, then I call it quits. Or when I've used all the colors that I want to use, and then I spread them all out and arrange them. That's the very last thing. Except for my son's quilt, I had more than 49. I was determined to make 100 of these squares and then put them together, but I fell short of that. I had like 60 or 70, and I had to cut down the number because it was too much. And then someone suggested to me, well, how old was he when he died? And I said, well, 49. Okay, well, that's a nice, perfect square, 7 by 7. And that's how that was.
Wow.
But usually I spread out fabrics that I want to use and just go to town.
In this embroidery looking, these in the middle of the circles, you do all that on your machine yourself?
Yes, I do that. I turn it upside down, and the heavy thread will not go through the needle of the sewing machine. So I put it in my bobbin, which is usually a lighter weight thread and not seen by anybody. So it's kind of something someone taught me once, and I've continued doing it because I love the effect that it has. And I make a line with my sewing machine from the top, and then I follow that line underneath. Yeah.
Look at these leaves.
Mm-hmm.
And I see spiders. Uh-huh.
Spiders, that's interesting. Okay.
Those aren't spiders?
Well, I never thought of them as spiders, no.
I clearly, those are eyes and legs. Hello. Okay, again, see what I mean? Disclaimer, my universe, you guys are visiting. So what do you see? And let's talk about that the last couple minutes we have here. How we all see something different. I love that. Mm-hmm. I absolutely love that. So what do you call the things on the tips? Are these even leaves?
Well, actually, no. This came from a book of Japanese family crests that someone gave me. Beautiful, beautiful. Many of them too complicated to put into what I do, but there were some nice simple ones. And this was a horn, like a stag horn, a deer horn.
Yeah.
And so it's not really a leaf at all, according to this book. It's, this Japanese book. And, but I thought it would be a nice, simple design and could be easily called a leaf. And the little lines are really just, for emphasis. And because I love doing French knots, anytime I get a chance to put French knots in a design, I will do that. So, I did this one.
Just beautiful. You guys, on your screen right now is the road, the main superhighway to all things SusanLeonardQuilts.com. Get over. There's a whole bunch more that we didn't get to show you today because I don't want to take you all the way through the lunch hour, and we could have been here that long and forgotten all about time because it's so enjoyable. Tell people what the current waiting list is, because I know, but hey, it's gonna keep moving, so you might want to think about getting on it. Susan, talk about that. What can they expect should they want a quilt from you?
Well, when you said 24 months earlier in the hour, that's about right. That's about right, between 18 and 24 months.
Yeah.
And it does depend on the project too. I do have a schedule but I actually like to having things ahead of time because I get to often I'll be given the fabrics I'm going to be using or the clothes. And then my mind already starts thinking about it during that whole 18 to 24 months. I'm thinking about your project. So, so you get a bargain.
Yeah. I just love it. I'm really, but see, that's the thing with me. I'm like, well, what clothes would I use? I need that. You know what I mean? Well, when I'm going to get back in that, I'll fit that again. She can't have that. Well, anyway, but I think too, what a wonderful gift to give. You know, my mind is churning ideas out. Listen, you guys, SusanLeonardQuilts.com is where you want to go. I've just dropped it inside your comment section for easy access. So as soon as we're out of here, which is now, click over and go and experience what you will not soon forget. Susan, hang out backstage. I have a gift for you. I have a gift. Right. And you guys, I'm going to try to talk Susan into a 90-minute television special about how this process works, some of the history, how you can work towards preserving some of your own history. I just love it. I love it. And I don't want this art to ever get lost. You take it to a whole new level, Susan Leonard. And I don't just mean your quilts. Thank you so much. You guys, get out of here. Have the best day ever. You're already great. Find one E and one R and take everything from great to greater, bright to brighter, strong to stronger, bold to bolder, and my personal favorite, kind to kinder. It's free, it doesn't hurt, and it's oh so yummy, yummy, yummy. Listen, I will meet you, God willing, tomorrow morning over on the front porch where together we can have yet another illuminated conversation, right? So get out of here. Don't you dare let that screen door slam when you leave. And remember, Dr. Lauren absolutely loves you. I do. And there's not a damn thing you can do about it. Take that with you. Susan, I just love you and your work. Thank you so much. Hang out. You guys get out of here. Make it the best day ever. You too. And thank your friend for helping us, the one who helped us get all set up. Bye, you guys. Love you. Have a great one. Bye-bye.
Before you get it, baby, show me your soul. And honey, I'll show you mine. I'll show you mine. Oh, I'm standing right here holding up a sign, shamelessly displaying my state of mind.